Okay, dear students, once again I am coming in front of you to discuss certain things. Today I will discuss the discovery of anode rays or canal rays. It is a positive rays. It is a collection of lot of positive particles moves emanates from anode and moving towards cathode. So it is called anode ray or canal ray. It was discovered by Mr. Goldstein in the year 1886, and by Goldstein he used a perforated cathode in the same discharge tube. So you can see this is the discharge tube, same discharge tube we are using. We are using the same discharge tube. So while studying the cathode ray, we got a perforated anode. Because in that case we are studying the movement of the cathode rays from cathode to anode, negative particle from this cathode to anode. Now we are studying the anode rays. So we are studying the rays which are emanating from this anode and moving towards cathode. So you can see these are the holes through which this anode rays will pass through it, and after passing through it, it will collide with the phosphorescence or fluorescence material which was coated here, particularly zinc sulfide, that will get glowed. So this is the anode rays emanating from positive terminal moving towards the negative terminal and passing through the negative terminal, because a lot of perforation have been created in cathode. It pass through the cathode and get collide with the zinc sulfide which was coated here. So we get a same arrangement have been made which was arranged in case of the cathode rays. Only we are studying in reverse direction here. So you can observe this arrangement. So all the properties are same here. Only thing you will observe the different thing here in case of anode ray or canal rays, that it depends on the nature of the gas, which depends on the nature of the gas which is kept inside this glass tube, and even the nature of the nature of anode ray depends upon the this glass material also with which this tube is made up. Because if you change this glass tube, the glow will be different. If you change the gas, then this type of glow will be different. But when you are studying the cathode rays, so at that time whatever glow is there, irrespective of the gas, irrespective of the glass material used, the nature of the cathode ray remains same. So that's why we said that cathode ray is independent of the nature of the gas which is taken inside the discharge tube, and also independent of the glass material which is used to prepare this glass discharge tube. But in case when we are studying the anode rays which is emanating from anode and moving toward the cathode, that is why we call it anode rays, because it emanates from anode and move towards the cathode. So this one is known as anode ray. But in case of anode ray, what we observe, that every time we change the gas here, the glow is different. That means the nature anode as well as if you change the glass material of this glass tube also, even then you get a different kind of glow here. So that means the anode ray depends on the nature of the gas as well as on the nature of the glass material used in this case. So anode ray is dependent upon the nature of the gas as well as depend upon the glass material used in this case. But the arrangement remains same, experiment found to be same as it was studied by J.J. Thomson while studying the cathode rays. So same experiment was studied by Mr. Goldstein, but in the reverse direction. Only the certain arrangement have been made. So that is why we say same thing have been studied. Okay, now we'll move further certain similarities. So this is the arrangement of the cathode ray which were studied earlier. This was the arrangement discharge tube which we have already studied it. So same arrangement has been made here also. So you remember this, what you have earlier studied, same arrangement is made. Now The same thing is made, same way we'll study. I'll study the some properties of the anode rays. So in case of cathode ray, what we say, cathode ray travel in straight line. In case of cathode ray, what we say, it travels in a straight line. So same is the case with the anode also. It also travels in the straight line. How it will be confirmed? In the same way as it has been confirmed in case of cathode ray. Suppose that this cathode is made anode and this anode is made cathode. Reverse. Here you make it negatively charged cathode and you make it positively charged anode. And same experiment you carry out. So this is the material here, so it will produce shadow. So this experiment will confirm that it moves with the speed and produces the shadow. So when something produces shadow, it moves in a straight line. Okay. So it apart from this, we'll say it is a material particle also. So in case of cathode ray experiment, we have proved. In the same way, we will be proving this, that the anode ray also have got the made up of material particle. It is only proved if the light pedal made to move, made to have a rotation. Okay, if you make it to move, light pedal. So same arrangement must be made. Here what will be, change the direction. You make this cathode as anode. Now you make this cathode as anode, that means positively charged terminal, and make this anode as a cathode, negatively charged terminal, and same light paddle is there. So when you start experiment, what you will find, there is a movement of this paddle wheel. So when there is a movement of this paddle wheel, it proves that it has got material, because the rays which is coming out, it get collide with this one. In case of this anode rays, even a little bit heavier paddle also can make them to rotate, or because this anode ray is heavier than the cathode rays, so it can make heavier paddle also move. So that's why you can little bit hard paddle wheels also can be used here to consider this experiment. So in this way we can prove that even the anode ray is also made up of material particles. Okay, and if something heating effect is also there in case of anode rays also, it has got a heating effect, because when you put something in between, then this plate will get heated up. So again the anode ray also gives you the heating effect. Okay, now we will see that there is a movement, okay, I'll show you the another thing. In case of anode ray, same experiment will be carried out. This is the same experiment. So there is a impact of magnetic field as well as electric field. This study was carried out in case of cathode rays. Same arrangement will be made in case of anode rays also. In that case, what we will do, you will make this cathode as anode and you make this anode as cathode. Change the position of the cathode and anode. Okay, so you will put anode here, cathode here, and same arrangement will be made. So when there will be no magnetic field and electric field, then the anode ray will collide at this position and gives you the glow. Fluorescence will be created here, because the fluorescence material is coated here. Okay, and this anode ray under the electric field, in case of cathode ray deflect in the positive towards the positive plate. Cathode ray deflects towards the positive place. positive field. Whereas when there will be anode ray, this anode ray will deflect towards the negative plate, so it will give you the glow at C. In case of anode ray, it will give you glow at C because the anode ray get deflected towards the negative plate, not toward the positive plates. So that's why under the influence of electric field, anode ray gives you the glow at C, and under the influence of magnetic field, this anode ray will deflect towards this positive plate. You will get the glow at A. So in case of anode rays, under the influence of magnetic field, you will get glow at A. Under the influence of electric field, anode ray gives you the glow at magnetic at C. So in case of anode ray, you will get opposite result as what has been given in case of cathode rays. So this experiment confirms that anode ray is positively charged. Anode ray is positively charged. This deflection towards the electric field and magnetic field, it gives confirmation that the anode ray is positively charged. Okay, so we have discussed all these things. Now I will move further. Okay, what I have discussed, everything is written over here. So using a perforated cathode, we have discharge tube. Under the influence of high potential difference, gas in the discharge tube is ionized. This results in the formation of the particles with positive and negative charge. The negatively charged particles, which is the electron, move towards the anode at very high speed, which is called cathode rays. On their way, this electron collides with the atoms of the other atoms of the gases, other atom of the gases, which produces more electron and positive charge particles. The electron moves towards the anode in the form of cathode ray. Electron moves towards the anode in the form of cathode ray, while the positive ions moves towards the cathode in the form of anode ray or canal rays. So these are the things we have already discussed, just I am reminding you. Now the properties of anode ray, which we have just discussed. Anode ray travels in a straight line. Anode ray consists of material particle. Anode rays are deflected by electric field towards negatively charged plates. This indicates that they are positively charged. Fourth one, when a magnetic field is applied in the direction perpendicular to the path of the anode rays, they get deflected in the direction expected for positive particles. This further indicates that they are positively charged. And now, this is the one thing which is different from cathode ray. In case of cathode ray, charge to mass ratio is independent of the nature of the gas. That means whatsoever the gas you are using, charge to mass ratio found to be same in case of cathode rays. But charge to mass ratio of the particles in the anode ray depends on the nature of the gas taken in the discharge tube. So this is the one difference is there. The charge to mass ratio of the particles in the anode ray depends upon the nature of the gas taken in the discharge tube. So charge to mass ratio is different in the discharge tube for anode rays, which was constant in case of cathode rays. So this is the one difference, is different thing is observed in case of anode rays. So keep it in mind, charge to mass ratio was constant in case of cathode rays, where is in case of anode rays, charge to mass ratio depends upon the nature. That means it changes depending upon the nature of the gas. For different gas, charge to mass ratio is different. But one thing is observed. What is observed? it was observed that charge to mass ratio is maximum. Okay, what is observed that charge to mass ratio for the anode ray, it is maximum when hydrogen gas was taken. When we have taken the hydrogen gas, when we have taken the hydrogen gas in the discharge tube, we get the charge to mass ratio which is the maximum in comparison to any other gases. So what does it indicate? What is the charge to mass ratio? Charge by mass. That means it is maximum only if the mass will be the least. If the mass will be least, then only the charge to mass ratio will be higher, because charge to mass ratio is charge by mass. So if the mass is at lower end, then the charge to mass ratio will be higher, and this charge to mass ratio is maximum. In this case, that means mass is at minimum position and charge is at highest position. So it indicates that the positive ion which is formed in case of hydrogen gas are the lightest. That means this hydrogen gas is the lightest one. This experiment proves that the positive ion which is formed in case of hydrogen gas, that means hydrogen ion which is formed during this experiment, are the lightest in comparison to any other charged particles. Since it is the lightest particle among all the charged ions, so that's why the name is given proton, and we have already known to us that it is positively charged. So this, in this way we got the discovery of proton. Okay, and the charge to mass ratio of the proton were determined in the same way as it has been determined in case of cathode ray. Same experiment, same experimental conditions will be applied, same experiment arrangement will be made, and in the same way the charge to mass ratio for hydrogen gas will be determined. And it, when we determine, what we get, 9.58 into 10 to the power 7 coulomb per kg. That means 1 kg of proton carry this much charge. 1 gram of proton carries this much coulomb of charge. So this is the charge to mass ratio for the proton. Hydrogen ion is known as proton because hydrogen ion have no neutron, only proton. So that is why hydrogen ion is also known as proton. Okay, so in this way we have discovered the proton. So we have already discussed that the charge to mass value of canal rays for given gas may be different for different gases. Charge to mass ratio for canal rays for a particular gas, it is for different gases, the charge to mass ratio is different. But there is another observation also. Even for the same gas under different experimental condition, charge to mass ratio become different. It all depends upon the potential applied over it. If the potential difference applied is different, then the charge to mass ratio would be different, because different charge to mass ratio applied will give the cations in a different form. We may get unipositive cations, we may get dipositive cations, we may get tripositive cations. So depending upon the charge developed over the cation, the charge to mass ratio will be different. In case of cathode rays, they are all unipositive, all electrons only one, they are not ions, only electron, fundamental particles. But here it is not a fundamental particle, it is ion. So ion may carry different charges. So when they have different charges, then they will give you the different charge to mass ratio. Even if we are carrying out the same experiment with the same gases, but the condition will be different. That means different potential difference will be applying, different materials will be applied for the glass materials. So if the condition become different, then the same gas will give you the different kind of cations. So when the different kind of cations are produced, in that case charge to mass ratio will be different. So charge to mass ratio not only different for different gases, but the charge to mass ratio is even different for same gases. If it is same experiment, this anode ray experiment is carried out, canal ray experiment is carried out in different conditions. Okay, so these are the main thing. We have discussed the discovery of proton also. Okay, so charge on the proton, we have calculated it. So charge to mass ratio, we have got it, and charge over the proton, because every atom is neutral. So whatever the charge over the electron is there, same charge must be over the proton, then only it will be neutral. So that's why the charge on the proton is opposite, that means positive in nature, but it is equal in magnitude. So whatever the charge over the electron is there, same charge would be with the proton also, 1.6022 into 10 to power minus 19. So once we know the charge over the proton, and we already determine the charge to mass ratio of the proton, so we can find out the mass of the proton by taking this formula, E by charge to mass ratio. So this is the value of charge over the proton, and this is the charge to mass ratio of the proton. So when we calculate how much we get mass of the proton, 1.672 into 10 power minus 27. Now look at the mass of the proton, 1.672 into 10 power minus 27. It is much heavier than the mass than the electron. What is the mass of the electron? You can just see. What is the mass of the electron? It is 9.109 into 10 power minus 28 gram per electron, or 9.1094 into 10 power minus 21 kg per electron. It is much lesser in comparison to the proton, and practically if you compare these two, then the proton is found to be 1000. Proton is found to be, particularly the proton is found, again this 1 unit mass, what is considered, it is 1 unit. So this 1 unit mass is considered to be 1837 times heavier than the mass of the electron. So proton is found to be 1837 times heavier than the electron. That means if you say the mass of the electron is 1, then the mass of the proton would be 1837. If you say, for sake of understanding, if you consider the mass of electron as 1, then the mass of the proton would be 1837. But generally what we consider? Mass of the electron as 1. That means if we consider this 1837 as a 1, then the mass of the electron would be 1 by 1837. So these are the explanation about the mass of the electron and proton. Now the one thing is, that is the discovery of neutron. Now the proton is discovered, electron is discovered, so that's why the neutrality of the atom, the neutral nature of the atom is explained, but the mass remain unexplained. So mass has to be explained, atomic mass of the atom should be explained. Then the discovery of a neutron takes place. This experiment was carried out by Mr. Chadwick in 1932. He carried out a particular experiment. He carried out with the light elements, like when light elements like lithium, beryllium, boron are bombarded. Bombarded means it was attacked by fast moving particles. Bombarding means something is attacked by very fast moving particles. Very fast means anything which is moving with a tremendous speed. So these lithium, beryllium and boron, which is a light elements, it was bombarded with the very light particle, that is alpha particle, which moves with a tremendous speed. It was attacked by the alpha particle, which that means bombarded by the alpha particle, that means it was attacked with a tremendous speed. Then this element, this light particles, generates a particularly penetrating ray. Penetrating rays means it will move inside anything without any notice. It will move inside. So he got a penetrating type of rays, and he observed this penetrating rays. He found that this is neutral in nature. What he found that it is neutral in nature, because when these particles are allowed to pass through the electric field, through the magnetic field, so there is no deflection on the path, there is no change in the path, it moves in a straight line. So that is why we say that it is a neutral particle. When he deeply studied it, he carried out the experiment over the helium actually. So helium is it, this indicates the alpha particle. Okay, this the helium ion is alpha particle. This is the alpha particle. So this beryllium is attacked by this alpha particle. Then it produces a neutron and the carbon. Again, when he attacked this lithium, it produces a neutron, penetrating rays, and then a boron. So with this experiment, we conclude that apart from the electron and proton, apart from the positively charged particles, negatively charged particles, there is one more fundamental particles in any atom, that is the neutron, which carry no charge, but mass is one unit, that is equal, mass is equal to the one proton, the mass of the proton equal to the mass of the proton. So this is the discovery of electron, proton and neutron, and we know that what is the structure of atom. It is matter of these three fundamental particles, proton, electron and neutron, and we have revised it, the history of the discovery of the electron, proton and neutron. You must revise it, remember it. Okay, thank you.